What if I told you that the greatest mystery in our solar system isn't a planet or a moon, but an enormous region of space that most people have never even heard of? Far beyond the orbit of Neptune, past the icy frontier where sunlight is little more than a faint glow, lies a vast and mysterious realm known as the Kuiper Belt. It's a place so enormous that it stretches for billions of kilometers. A frozen wilderness filled with ancient worlds, dwarf planets, mysterious objects, and cosmic debris left over from the birth of the solar system itself. For decades, astronomers believed the solar system ended with Neptune. That was the final planet, the final frontier, or so they thought. Then, in the early 1990s, powerful telescopes began revealing something extraordinary. Beyond Neptune wasn't empty space at all. It was crowded. Thousands of icy objects were quietly orbiting the sun in the darkness. Some were only a few kilometers across. Others were hundreds of kilometers wide. A few were so large that they challenged our very definition of what a planet is. Suddenly, the edge of the solar system became much larger than anyone had imagined. But what exactly is the Kuiper Belt? To understand it, imagine the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. Now make it far wider, far colder, and many times more massive. Instead of rocky asteroids, the Kuiper Belt is filled mostly with frozen objects made of ice, rock, methane, ammonia, and other materials that have remained largely unchanged for more than 4.5 billion years. These objects are often described as cosmic fossils, time capsules preserving the conditions that existed when the solar system was first forming. Every one of them holds clues about our own origins. The farther you travel from the sun, the weaker its warmth becomes. At the distance of the Kuiper Belt, sunlight is around 1,000 times dimmer than it is on Earth. Temperatures plunge below minus 220 degrees Celsius. Here, water is harder than granite. Methane and nitrogen freeze solid. The sun appears as nothing more than an exceptionally bright star hanging in a permanently dark sky. It is one of the coldest places in the solar system. Yet despite these extreme conditions, the Kuiper Belt is far from lifeless. It is home to some of the strangest worlds ever discovered. The most famous of them all is Pluto. For over 70 years, Pluto was considered the ninth planet. Then, as astronomers discovered more and more large objects inside the Kuiper Belt, they faced an unexpected problem. If Pluto was a planet, shouldn't these other worlds also be planets? Objects like Eris, Haumea, Makemake, each one challenged the traditional definition of a planet. The debate became so intense that in 2006, astronomers made one of the most controversial decisions in modern science. Pluto was reclassified as a dwarf planet. The decision shocked millions of people around the world. But in reality, Pluto hadn't become smaller. Humanity had simply discovered that it belonged to an entire family of frozen worlds we never knew existed. And Pluto turned out to be far more fascinating than anyone expected. When NASA's New Horizons spacecraft flew past Pluto in 2015, scientists expected to see an ancient, frozen world covered in impact craters. Instead, they found something astonishing. Towering mountains made of water ice. Vast plains of frozen nitrogen. Glaciers slowly flowing across the surface. A surprisingly active world that appeared far younger than it should have been. Some regions contained almost no impact craters at all, which meant something had been reshaping Pluto's surface. But how could a tiny frozen world so far from the sun still be geologically active? Scientists are still searching for the answer. Some believe Pluto may even hide a liquid ocean deep beneath its icy crust. If that's true, then one of the most distant known worlds in our solar system may still be changing today. And Pluto is only the beginning. Astronomers now estimate that the Kuiper Belt contains hundreds of thousands of icy objects larger than 100 kilometers across, potentially millions of smaller ones. Many have never been visited. Some have only recently been discovered. Others remain completely unknown. It's entirely possible that several worlds larger than Pluto are still waiting to be found. In fact, some scientists believe the Kuiper Belt may be hiding one of the greatest discoveries in modern astronomy, a discovery that could completely change our understanding of the solar system. Because beyond this frozen frontier, the mysteries only become even stranger. But if the Kuiper Belt is already filled with mysteries, what lies beyond it may be even more extraordinary. For years, astronomers noticed something strange. A handful of the most distant objects in the Kuiper Belt seemed to follow unusual orbits. Instead of being randomly scattered, several of them appeared to be clustered in a way that shouldn't naturally happen. At first, many scientists assumed it was just a coincidence. But as more distant objects were discovered, the mystery refused to disappear. Something seemed to be influencing their paths. The obvious question was, what? One possible explanation became one of the most debated ideas in modern astronomy: a hidden world, a giant planet lurking far beyond Neptune. Today, it's known simply as Planet 9. Unlike the fictional worlds often seen in movies, Planet 9 isn't based on fantasy. It's a scientific hypothesis supported by the unusual motions of several distant objects. If it exists, researchers estimate it could be several times more massive than Earth, traveling around the Sun on an enormous orbit that takes perhaps 10 to 20,000 years to complete. At that distance, the Sun would appear as little more than an incredibly bright star. The planet itself would receive almost no warmth. It would be one of the coldest worlds ever known. And yet, despite years of searching, no one has found it. Has Planet 9 simply escaped detection? Or is there another explanation for these mysterious orbits? The debate continues. And that's exactly what makes the Kuiper Belt so fascinating. The farther astronomers look, the more surprises they find. Among the frozen worlds already discovered is Haumea, one of the strangest objects in the solar system. Unlike nearly every other dwarf planet, Haumea spins so rapidly that it isn't even spherical. Instead, it has been stretched into an elongated shape, almost like a giant cosmic football. A single day on Haumea lasts less than 4 hours. That's one of the fastest rotations ever observed for an object of its size. Even more remarkable, Haumea has its own ring. For many years, scientists believed only giant planets like Saturn, Jupiter, Uranus, and Neptune possessed ring systems. Then Haumea proved otherwise. It was a reminder that even small worlds can still surprise us. Another frozen world, Makemake, appears almost completely covered in frozen methane. Its reddish surface reflects sunlight in a way that makes it stand out among its distant neighbors. Then there's Eris, the discovery that ultimately sparked the debate over Pluto's planetary status. Eris is slightly smaller than Pluto but even more massive, and it follows an extremely distant orbit that carries it far into the darkness beyond the main Kuiper Belt. Each new object tells a different story. Some formed in place. Others may have been thrown outward during the chaotic early years of the solar system, when the giant planets migrated through space. In fact, many scientists now believe that Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune didn't always occupy the orbits we see today. Billions of years ago, they slowly shifted position. As they moved, their immense gravity scattered countless icy worlds outward, creating the Kuiper Belt we observe today. If that's true, the Kuiper Belt isn't just a collection of frozen leftovers. It's a record of one of the most dramatic events in the history of our solar system. A cosmic archive preserving evidence of planetary migration, violent collisions, and gravitational chaos that occurred billions of years before Earth became home to life. Every new discovery adds another piece to that ancient puzzle. And with every passing year, astronomers realize just how little we've actually explored. Because despite decades of observations, we've only detected a tiny fraction of the Kuiper Belt's inhabitants. Countless frozen worlds are still hidden in the darkness, waiting for someone to find them. But the Kuiper Belt isn't the end of the story. In fact, It may not even be the true edge of our solar system. Beyond this frozen region lies an even more mysterious place, a realm so distant that no spacecraft has ever explored it. A region believed to contain trillions of icy objects surrounding the sun like an enormous shell. Astronomers call it the Oort cloud. Unlike the Kuiper Belt, which forms a relatively flat ring beyond Neptune, the Oort cloud is thought to surround the solar system in every direction. If it exists as scientists believe, it could extend nearly a light year from the sun. To put that into perspective, if the orbit of Neptune were the size of a coin, the Oort cloud would stretch for kilometers around it. The scale is almost impossible to imagine. And yet, no one has ever seen it directly. Everything we know about the Oort cloud comes from indirect evidence. Long-period comets. These icy visitors occasionally appear in our skies after spending millions of years traveling through deep space. Their strange orbits suggest they originated from a distant reservoir surrounding the solar system. Every time one of these comets enters the inner solar system, it may be making its very first visit since the age of the dinosaurs. Or perhaps, since before Earth even had complex life. Imagine that. A frozen object carrying untouched material from the birth of the solar system, traveling for millions of years, only to briefly pass by our planet before disappearing back into the darkness. These comets are more than beautiful objects. They are messengers from the outer frontier, tiny pieces of a region humanity has never explored. Some scientists even believe that the water filling Earth's oceans may have arrived billions of years ago on icy bodies similar to these. If that's true, then the distant outskirts of the solar system may have helped make life on Earth possible. Without those ancient impacts, our planet might have remained dry and lifeless. It's a remarkable thought. The ingredients for life may have begun their journey billions of kilometers away. But perhaps the greatest mystery involves the countless objects we haven't found yet. Astronomers estimate that we've discovered only a tiny percentage of the Kuiper Belt. The vast majority remains completely invisible to us, not because it isn't there, but because it's simply too dark and too distant. Many of these frozen worlds reflect almost no sunlight. Others move so slowly across the sky that detecting them requires years of careful observations. It's entirely possible that enormous objects are still hiding beyond Neptune. Some could rival Pluto. Others might even be larger. Imagine discovering an entirely new dwarf planet tomorrow. A world hundreds or even thousands of kilometers across that has quietly orbited the sun for more than 4 billion years without anyone noticing. It sounds unbelievable, yet history has shown that the solar system is full of surprises. Every improvement in telescope technology reveals objects that were once invisible. Every new survey expands the map of our cosmic neighborhood, and every discovery reminds us of something astonishing. We still don't know everything that's orbiting our own sun. That realization changes the way we think about exploration. When people imagine discovering new worlds, they often picture distant exoplanets orbiting faraway stars. But some of the greatest discoveries may still be waiting much closer to home, hidden in the cold darkness beyond Neptune. Silent, ancient, completely untouched since the solar system was born. Perhaps somewhere in that frozen wilderness, a world unlike anything we've ever seen is waiting to be discovered. A world that will force astronomers to rewrite the textbooks once again. Because if the history of the Kuiper Belt has taught us anything, it's that every time we think we've reached the edge of the unknown, the universe reveals another frontier waiting to be explored. And perhaps that's the greatest lesson the Kuiper Belt has taught us. The solar system is far bigger, far stranger, and far less explored than most people realize. When we were children, many of us learned that the solar system was simple. The sun, 8 planets, a few moons, maybe an asteroid belt. It seemed complete, as if humanity had already mapped everything around us. But that picture couldn't have been further from the truth. Today, Astronomers know that beyond Neptune lies an enormous frontier filled with countless frozen worlds. Some have mountains. Some may hide underground oceans. Others rotate so quickly that they've been stretched into bizarre shapes. And many haven't even been discovered yet. Think about that for a moment. There are worlds orbiting our own sun that no human has ever seen. Not because they're in another galaxy, but because they're simply too far away and too faint to detect with current technology. Every year, more of them are found. And with every discovery, the map of our solar system grows a little larger. The New Horizons mission gave us our first close look at Pluto, forever changing the way we see dwarf planets. But it didn't stop there. After leaving Pluto behind, the spacecraft continued deeper into the Kuiper Belt. In 2019, it flew past a tiny object named Arrokoth. At first glance, Arrokoth looked unremarkable. But when the images arrived on Earth, scientists realized they were looking at one of the most primitive objects ever explored. Arrokoth appeared almost untouched since the birth of the solar system over 4.5 billion years ago. It was like opening a perfectly preserved time capsule from the moment the planets were forming. Its strange snowman-like shape revealed that it had formed through a gentle collision between two smaller bodies, rather than a violent impact. That single discovery helped confirm important theories about how planets themselves may have grown billions of years ago. It's incredible to think that such a tiny object could answer questions about the origins of worlds. And yet, countless Arrokoths are probably still waiting in the darkness. Future telescopes, including the Vera C. Rubin Observatory, are expected to discover thousands of new Kuiper Belt objects over the coming years. Each one could reveal another piece of the solar system's forgotten history. Some may have unusual orbits. Others may possess tiny moons. A few might completely challenge our current understanding of planetary formation. And perhaps, one of them could finally lead scientists to the answer they've been searching for. Does Planet 9 really exist? Or is there another hidden force shaping the outer solar system? For now, no one knows. But that's what makes this frozen frontier so exciting. Unlike many parts of astronomy, the Kuiper Belt is still full of unanswered questions. We're not studying ancient mysteries that have already been solved. We're watching one of the greatest scientific investigations in history unfold in real time. Every new telescope, every spacecraft, every observation brings us one step closer to understanding the true structure of our cosmic neighborhood. And perhaps the most exciting realization of all is this. If we've overlooked entire worlds orbiting our own sun, imagine what must still be waiting among the hundreds of billions of stars scattered across the Milky Way. The Kuiper Belt reminds us to stay humble. Even in our own backyard, the universe still has secrets. It reminds us that exploration is never truly finished. Every answer leads to another question. Every new world reveals another mystery. And every journey beyond the known frontier opens the door to discoveries we never expected. So, the next time you look up at the night sky, remember that far beyond the familiar planets, beyond Neptune, beyond Pluto, a vast frozen kingdom silently circles the sun. A kingdom filled with ancient worlds, hidden histories, and mysteries that humanity has only just begun to uncover. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next journey into the greatest mysteries of space. Because somewhere in the darkness beyond Neptune, another frozen world is waiting to be discovered. And that discovery could completely change the way we understand our solar system.